And we are live from Sidewalk Labs, San Francisco. And yeah, my name is Max. I'm a student at TKS. I'm focusing on robotics, and
Yeah, my name's Shay, and I'm also focusing on robotics at TKS.
today we're going to talk about Ori and the really cool stuff that they've been doing. So first off, what is Ori? Well, I'm so happy you asked. So Ori is this really cool company that basically makes robotic furniture. And the idea, let me just pull it up here, is that there's a bunch of these different beds, different bookshelves, different solutions to make studio apartments more livable. Because they think that studio apartments kind of suck, that it's one living space, and they want to be able to move it all around. So, Shay, my question to you is, do you think that's a viable idea?
I think in some areas it definitely is a viable idea. Um, for example, in homes, I think that's a viable idea, but maybe not in apartments so much. Just because apartments, people like to rearrange and kind of change the way things are around an apartment. And installing these robotics is like $10,000 to $20,000, right? So I don't think people would want to have things set for them when they're already coming.
Do you see a world where like real estate developers would focus on this instead of like, I don't know, individual renters, and they would sort of, in order to make their apartment more likable, they would put these things in at the very beginning in apartments.
I think in maybe more modern apartments they would do this, but maybe in apartments that already exist, they wouldn't want to do this because, yeah, as I said before, it's very costly, and yeah, people wouldn't want to have things already set for them. But I think in maybe modern homes, people will have that choice. So if there are two different types of apartments, people would have an option and would be able to choose. So I think that would be a good idea. What about you?
Sure. I actually disagree. I think that the best place to put these are apartments because the whole purpose of it, I think, is to sort of save space, right? And if you're in a home, do you really need to have movable furniture? So I think that I completely agree with you that it would be very hard to put this into existing areas, but like new modern developments in major cities that are sort of, where the rent is really high and they can afford an installation like this, I think this could be a game changer. Though I do wonder because there is a lot of movable furniture out there already, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, we were just talking about earlier about these Murphy beds, right? These sort of beds that can collapse, and there's bookshelves like that too. There's everything, right?
Yeah,
And Shay, do you see the robotic elements providing a serious advantage to the stuff Ori is doing?
I think in some ways it provides a robotic advantage. So, for example, there was one product where the living room kind of collapsed or kind of opened up and it created a little workspace. I feel like you could not do that with just movable furniture. So, for an aspects like that, this robotic furniture would be awesome. But for example, like moving beds, for example, if you research their cloud bed, it turns from basically a sleeping area. The bed goes up and it turns into a living room. I feel like you could easily do that with collapsible beds.
Yeah, I wonder if I also agree. I wonder how much of use versus cost that would be, and especially when we're looking at sort of that pretty steep cost margin. I think there's really cool ideas behind this, but you know, personally, I would be a little bit ambivalent against having, a pulley system versus having it be robotic because, I'm not, it's not like I'm moving up my bed up and down every 5 minutes, it's not
Yeah.
something that I do too often. And would I really pay that high price? But if you are moving entire spaces, I completely agree. Like if you could somehow have your apartment become sort of I don't know, like turn your kitchen into a dining space, which turns into your bedroom, right? If there was a lot of things moving at once, I think there's a really cool idea here that Ori could do. And they've been working on it. They've been working on sort of integrating all these systems together into one room, and I think that's where they're going to have their greatest successes.
Yeah, definitely. I think that would be a great idea. If you could somehow turn your dining area and make that collapsible, because most times you only go to your dining area for 3 meals out of your whole entire day, just for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Unless, of course, you have snacks, but you could always eat that like on your bed, like I do. So, like, if you're able to make that collapse, I think that definitely saves a lot of space. And in most houses, there's these very large areas for dining rooms, and I think that's not really needed.
Yeah, I think, and especially as sort of, the world population gets larger and more people move to cities, it'll be very interesting how sort of this whole reinvention of spaces and what actually defines a living space, right, will sort of change. And it's interesting too, we're almost, in many ways, we're sort of 10 years behind what